Yay! Hey, Earth and I fam. Another Vortex episode is coming at you live. If you didn't hear on YouTube, I kind of took a little hiatus, so we're back. I'm going to be back on a consistent schedule with the episodes. I just needed a little unplug, break. I made some adjustments with my social media life. I will link the YouTube video in the description below. And I kind of just talk about my relationship with social media, things I learned about being online, and some action I took to kind of mitigate that experience for me. Overall, it's really not a great experience. I feel I develop an unhealthy relationship to social media when I'm online, and that's something I'm trying to navigate. I'm learning to navigate, but also I learned that it's just not something I truly enjoy. It's interesting. Watch the video if you're interested in that. But today we are going to talk about a topic that I discuss with people I love often, and I believe that it's something that needs to be talked about more. And it's this idea of a spiritual community. We are definitely experiencing a new wave of spirituality on Earth. And there's this emerging idea of a spiritual community. And in my learnings, in my teachings, in my practices, there is no such thing as a spiritual community because we are truly all one. And so we're going to dive into that idea. And this is truly for anybody that's just curious of spirituality, who's kind of getting into their own understanding of what it means to be alive. Maybe you're navigating a relationship with God, you're diving deeper into yourself, whatever it might be, connecting with the universe. This is a conversation that I welcome you to be a part of. And as you know, here we flow. So, of course, the idea of a spiritual community comes through on social media. And I can't not acknowledge this beautiful beach I'm sitting on right now. It just feels like a little vortex, honestly. I just did a meditation and I truly felt like there was surround sound and I was just in a vortex. So I'm so grateful to be right here, right now. The sun is coming through the clouds. Oh my gosh, we got a surfer out there. It's so beautiful. And this idea of a spiritual community has, of course, emerged through social media. And I feel like it's just so interesting. It really is so interesting how the ego can be involved in something just like spirituality. I've witnessed it myself. And spirituality is not an exclusive idea. It's 1,000% open to everyone and everything. Everything is spiritual. And this idea that there's a community kind of puts this preface that, well, you need to do something specific, or you need to be something specific, or you need to identify in a specific way in order to be a part of the spiritual community. That's so wrong. To me, it goes against everything that, and of course, this is truly just my point of view, but I feel like it's important because that can really deter people from going on a spiritual path. And especially, you know, I've gotten asked the silliest questions like, are you a hippie? You're just like a gypsy. All these different ideas have been thrown at me. And I feel when I really dove into this, my truth, you are free from these boxes, from these ideas, from these identities that the world puts you in and that you put yourself in, because we put ourselves into these identities. It's only natural, right? We want to fit somewhere, we want to go into a category, yet we are truly turning a page on Earth, and we are stepping into new Earth when the time is aligned. And when we step into that new Earth, there is no identity, there is no separation. the more that we chip away at these social constructs and ideas, the deeper we become connected to one another, the deeper we become connected to Earth. And it's true. You know, there's all these different kinds of people. And that was the other thing. You know, there's like these tiers in the spiritual community, like crunchy and this and hippie and that and blah. And I still experience it to this day, you know, how I'm woo woo and all these things. And that is completely fine. But it doesn't affect me, it doesn't impact me anymore. And how I really came to this is that I witnessed myself identifying with it and walking around and showing up online with this identity of being a woo woo guru or a yogi. And there's nothing wrong with that. I really want to emphasize this, but I want you to be aware of, I have to be aware too of, you know, the snakes in the water. And because gradually over time, the more that we allow something to be normalized, the more it becomes foundational in the idea. And I want to circle back to this idea that there is no such thing as a spiritual community. Everything is spiritual. Everyone is spiritual. Everything breathing and alive is spiritual. And what the whole journey of spirituality is to bring unity and to bring connectiveness, connection. Yet if we are creating a community around that, it cuts us off from the rest. It creates separation. It kind of builds like a moat around where we are and where everybody else is. And that is very much not the purpose. And that's not what the teachings I've explored have pointed to. They've pointed to the fact that we all have this divine energy within us. And once it awakens, it eradicates the separation. It erases the darkness. And we see the light that is all of us, that is life. This idea of a spiritual community, what I've discovered, is it really comes from healing. This idea of healing, because healing is a deeply personal experience. We can have so much in common in the realm of healing. Yet when you get really deep into healing, whatever that may mean for you, it's only natural that you kind of create this barrier around yourself, because it's kind of like you're getting naked, you know, you're getting naked out in public. You want to have some kind of protection around you, some kind of safety net. Yet when we're ready to step back into life, which you have to do, you cannot heal forever. When you're ready to step back into life, inevitably we want to keep that separation up, that barrier, because it makes us feel safe. And how that transitions is into identification with your healing journey and your spirituality and those beautiful discoveries you make. I want to emphasize there's really nothing wrong with that, but that is another layer that needs to be pulled back. Another, you know, unknown gate that you need to step into. It all comes back to having awareness and paying attention to what makes you feel drained, what makes you feel less than. It always comes back to me, for me, to identity, to having to be somebody and having to put on some mask and to fit into whether it's a social group or be liked by somebody. And when I notice that reflection, I deepen into my center. I come into my light. And we all have the power to do that. And I love spirituality. I love essence and being and aliveness, all of those beautiful things. And I feel it's a responsibility to have these kind of hard, even cringy maybe conversations, because if we don't, it's going to just create a beast that is no better than what we've experienced in the past, because it all comes back to the ego. Ego is a natural part of life. It's a natural part of human experience, but it is not a natural part of living. It's something that takes away living. It's essential for us to be able to identify as an individual. Again, like for purposes of healing and knowing who you are and understanding your passions, yet it's such a fine line. And it's a big wow. I'm actually rereading A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Oh my gosh, the sound of the waves is therapeutic. And hence, really, me saying New Earth, and honestly having a clearer understanding on why that whole idea bothers me, because it does. It does when people are like the spiritual community, the spiritual community. That's not a thing. That is completely ignore that construct and that idea. And I believe that's also a big part of, yeah, I'm not going to get all into that because I feel like I could probably go on a rant about that. And if you guys would like that, let me know in the comments, because I can do that for my next video, is really get into how it's truly toxic at its core. And I feel I have a different perspective, because I don't believe that being online or, having some kind of niche is necessary in life. I will never understand that. I'll never fall in line with that. And that does make my life a lot more difficult, because I do kind of have, and it might be a problem, but I do have this, I just don't want to be put into a box in any way, shape, or form. That has been one of the most freeing things ever. And this idea of being put in a spiritual box, spiritual community, being associated with these people that are not getting it. And who am I to say that? Who am I to say that? That's my ego coming up. Nobody's immune to it. But I'll let that fall off. I'm going to get centered again. I got off a little bit. But I really hope this is landing with you and it's making sense and it's providing clarity, because it's very tricky. We live in a very tricky society, especially with this emergence of, online presence and so many people diving into spirituality. It's so, so beautiful, yet we need to hold each other accountable and responsible. And we need to call people out when we feel like it's being, not in highest alignment. And again, that's an opinion, opinion based, but it's still necessary, because we're in this together. We're walking this path together. And everybody has a place. Everybody has a place. Whether you feel like you fit into that category, that doesn't matter. Spirituality does not look one way. You do not need to wear the flowy pants and do yoga and come meditate on the beach. No, you can pray, you can run, you can do any of these things, and your life is just as spiritual as anybody else's, as long as you have that deep reverence for life and that curiosity for the beyond, and pursuing some kind of relationship with God, with Source. Wherever you feel comfortable in that, that's all it is. And of course I say that's all it is. It's eternally deep. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And it goes so deep beyond any boundaries and social constructs. And we just have to understand the way that it manifests on the surface is not telling of its depth, of its true essence. And having that remembrance can be very difficult, especially with social media and with shallow conversations that we have. They're just part of life. Yeah, we have to remember that awareness, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Have that discernment. Have that discernment. And I really hope this kind of opened a new door. Even this just felt very freeing to talk about, and I hope that it resonated with you in a very freeing and empowering way. That's exactly how I want it to be. Your spirituality is boundless, it's undefined, and it's endless. Nothing could ever put it into a group or anything like that. And know that we are the community of lifers. We are the community of being alive, and having that foundational understanding of the connectiveness of every being on earth, every living thing on earth, regardless of what the world is telling you. We are all one, we are all connected, and that is really definitely 1,000% a gateway into spirituality, because we can't wrap our heads around it. you can only feel that idea. You can truly only feel that idea in your gut, in your belly, in your heart, in your body. And eventually it manifests these really beautiful ideas in the mind. That was a great flow. I think that I had some help. Definitely had some help. All right, my Earth and I fam, vortex steppers. We'll take a deep breath together as we get ready to step out. Breathe in and let it all go. I would love to hear from you in the comments on Spotify or if you're watching on YouTube, either way. Please engage. I'm really working on organic growth here, and connecting with you is a huge way that that happens. Like, share, and yeah, stick around for the next one. I'm so grateful to have you. I couldn't care less if it was 2 or 500, whatever. I just want to make sure that I get to connect with you and the beings that I'm meant to connect with. And it's a group effort. It's a community effort. All right. Thank you, babes. I will see you next time.